Let's first start. Lesson one. Today lesson will go through the learning outcome one. As you know me, couple of my name is Anju Sata. Please, if you have any question, drop me email anju@UK. I'll try my best to get to you as soon as possible. Today's lesson key focus will be just before starting, we'll go through what we're supposed to be learn next few weeks, during our lessons. So the aim of this unit is to provide learner with understanding about the concept of assurance, and the learner will be considered, the responsibility of different stakeholders when completing assurance engagement. So that's, the concept of assurance defined in the term assurance, describe the concept of reasonable assurance, explain the assurance process, compare, contrast responsibility of different stakeholders involved in an assurance engagement. And we can analyze the possible purpose and the outcome of obtained from the different assurance engagement, assess the needs and the plan the assurance activities with, professional skepticism and the professional judgment. That will be all in our lesson, which will go through today lesson. Anybody, any question if you have, please, you can ask. And then lesson two will go through LO2, lesson three. Then we have indicative content. Our oral discussion will cover, define the concept assurance, internal, external assurance report, assurance principle, limitation scope, and engagement, acquisition, risk assessment, scope planning, so evidence sourcing. These all the keywords will be in our lesson, and are those we need to be focused. Okay, we'll move to our LO1 learning outcome one, which will start now. Okay, so let's please. Can you hear me all? Okay, thank you. Those are just listening, please. If you have question, you can ask it as well. Drop me email and try to attend the next lesson. Understand the concept of assurance, or LO1. The aim of the unit, as I mentioned in self-assessment, always good to be assess yourself where your current knowledge about the little reflection, always good to be indicative content, define the assurance. This is indicative content which will go through the key concept I mentioned. So what does assurance mean? An assurance engagement is the practitioner account and express a conclusion designed to enhance the degree of the confidence of the intended user. Like auditors give the assurance that nothing found, which is we not give the negative assurance, we give the reasonable, we never give the absolute assurance, yes. But we give the assurance that the books of accounts is being prepared true and fair and reflect the correct information. Nothing came in, and this is the company, the going concern will carry on in normal business at least 12 months. So that's, evaluation of the measurement of the subject. In the case of the audit, is the definition, the work, the practices like practitioner, editors, intended user, owner, responsible parties, managers, subject matters, opinion, giving the financial statement, criteria, accounting standard, and the legal requirement. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but not absolute assurance. Limited assurance, the level of assurance, reasonable assurance, which is stated negatively. Editors never give the absolute insurance because it can be something, whatever the document they gave us, we give an assurance. So inherently limitation of audit can be judgment by the director. Director may not give the full information to editors, and possible the fraud has been concealed and the sampling evidence. It can be persuasive, not conclusive. So assurance is the engagement in which the practitioner express the and the conclusion design enhance the degree of confidence and the user and the relevant parties, and assurance it need to be give the true and fair information. It can be reasonable assurance, limited assurance, secretary, and these type of assurance can be in the simple term. The giving assurance means offering an opinion about the specific information that is quite crucial, which we can look around. Specific information, confident decision, and the risk. Risk is it's help the assurance to reduce the risk. So like audit risk, which will go through different types of the risk in our following lesson as well. Risk is mean the probability of happening. Okay, that's the key things which we can look at. Let's please move to the next. Okay. So there are the five elements of assurance: the practitioner, the review the information, the intended user the information, responsible party prepare, we do the scrutiny, and we can suitable criteria about the judgment in the light of different accounting standard in the law and sufficient appropriate evidence, sub substantial an opinion and written report which we can look around. Example, buying a house. Consider someone who is buying a house, member of the public, a lack of technical expertise to assess the structural condition of the property, and there is the risk that someone pay a large sum of money, purchase a structure unsafe property which need to be further expenditure to make it, and reduce the risk of the normal house buyer and the payer of the property surveyors, and perform the structural assessment of the house. And the surveyors would then report back to the return, and house buyer identify and structural deficiencies, measure again the suitable structural criteria, and look the information and potential buyer, make a decision to buy or not buy, getting the confidence about the information which is given by the surveyor is appropriate and relevant and up to date. The development of the insurance engagement, incorporation of the separation of the ownership, yes, through the member of different vehicle. It's the commonly invested. Those are business seek to the protection of the limited company status, and this means not lose the fund, invest in the business, cannot be held personally, satisfying the remaining corporate debt, and creation of the limited company refer to the incorporation and artificial person. They should treat the organization definition which we can look around. Any question from anyone? Still this tension between owner and the business, which we can opportunity of the owner and the investors, themselves, and we can look around the need. Okay, so while have the provided the financial protection for the shareholders, it does leads to the significant conflict which we can shareholders seek to the maximize. So we need to look around the stewardship, the details the steward and the working on the behalf of the shareholders and need to be work in the best interest of the all the parties. Yes, present not conflicting information. Always information need to be true and fair. The increase there. Okay, so what is meant by the stewardship? It's a responsibility to take good care of the resources and steward of the person entrusted management and others, personal properties. An example, who can be paid, look after another person's house while, the fiduciary relationship accountability is the way, carried out. Fiduciary relationship is the relationship of good faith, such as between the director of the company and the shareholders. Accountability means the people are the position and the power can be held and accountable for the action, and they can be compiled and explain their decision that can be criticized and punished, the way it's observed. We need accountability in terms of the control and the concept, good corporate governance and the process of ensuring the company are well, and agencies are the parties, are the principal or employees and other parties on the behalf of. So the agent and agency relationship is very important. So because the agent director is the agent of the shareholders, like in the audit engagement is the most developed countries, publicly quoted companies, the largely companies are required by law to produce annual reports. That we need to be external auditor need to do the audit, and audited account need to be present. So audit is a very, what is the audit? The word audit is derived from the Greek word adera, which means checking the accuracy in the book of account. That's, which we can look around. The general principle is allowed. The ethical principle we can follow. We have a accounting a standard board, those we are following in the legislation, and we can look around and auditors give the views about the okay. So account types of the assurance according to International Accounting Standard Board permit two types, reasonable and limited. The reasonable assurance is the assurance, engagement and the practical sufficient appropriate evidence to draw up the reasonable conclusion. All material need to be identified, positive, not, the role of a detail, the other detail, three party that involved in the audit process, the preparation is the management director, user is, and the editors is the practitioner, the editors. The management prepares the subject matters such as the financial statement. A detail will review the financial statement and procedures and the in materiality of the figures, and then draw their opinion based on the SS reports, and finally the editor prepare the written reports. It can be fairly presented, true and fair, and the reasonable assurance prepare the according with the laws and unbiased and clear, not take back and taking money and giving the positive assurance or absolute insurance we never give. So statutory audit is the example of the reasonable assurance engagement, the approach of the assignment be consistent, local legislative requirement, company act, international accounting standard. The greatest level of assurance director provide is a reasonable. The limitation of the audit means not possible to provide absolute assurance. So financial information includes subjective and judgmental matters, inherently limitation, control, and audit evidence and representation from the management may be relied upon in the source of evidence in some areas. That the evidence is a persuasive, not persuasive, and don't 100% of the transaction and the balances. So some of incorrect believe the audit does provide absolute assurance. No, that's not. There can be a gap between expectation, misconception, and the belief in the detailed 100% transaction and the balances tested. But the sample basis and the belief, the details they are required to detect the fraud and the financial statement free from the mismaterial statements and caused by the fraud. The details should pick the all the material figures and should give the information through limited assurance, and limited assurance can be practiced get the sufficient appropriate evidence to be the draw the limited conclusion on the concluded that the subject matters are the respect of identify the suitable criteria stable in the circumstances and give the negative worded assurance opinion. Okay, so please, when we do the example of limited assurance assignment, engage is the possible small companies who are not legally required to be have the full audited and the financial statement enable them to be present their accounts to be the potential lenders, and they precise definition about the reasonable limited. Yes, so we can look around the review engagement voluntary analytical procedures and inquiries. All is objective of the financial statement. It's as we mentioned true and fair. We can use the audit standards and characteristic of review engagement will be carried out and using much limited procedure and secretary audit. Okay, so when we do the assurance, please, we can look around the reasonable assurance, three parties, subject matter, suitable criteria, and evidence, secretary audit, which is by law, you have to do three from the material misstatement, true and fair. That's, is a crucial. Okay, so then we can look around expectation gap can be which can be further inquired and can be do like a financial information inherent in limitation. It can be representation evidence, can be persuasive, not conclusive, and draw not 100% transaction, but we can look around the sample. We can look around the sampling side, the sampling method, those need to be appropriate. Okay, so that's when we do the standard, we follow the professional standard as well in the financial reporting standard, the accounting standard, ethical standard, practices and notes, and those, international audit standard board, international standard on auditing, and IFA adopted in the UK. We can look around both local and internationally, and you have clearly indicates, which standard improve the quality of the audit globally, improve the public. So you couple of you heard about creative accounting. Yes, and it's a professional duty of care of a detail Then not negligence, the duty of the care existed. The auditors negligence can be lead to the public, the damages like which is happen in case of Carillion company, in case of Enron. So we need to be make sure the evidence need to be clear, authentic, and reliable, and all the material information are details, failure, consequences, damage payout, bad publicity, bankruptcy, liabilities restriction, liabilities limitation agreement, and then paragraph LLP, a professional indemnity insurance can be taken to tackle these problems. So professional standard, third party don't have a contract, with the details from, they know automatically duty of care. Duty of care is existed. Duty of care enforced by law. Negligence is where the duty are existed and the details are negligence, and the damages can be to the audit firms, and the monetary loss, direct consequences or indirect consequences as well, which can be the reputation. The case law imply the past debtor not owe the third party duty of care. However, the debtor know the third party is relying on their opinion and doesn't disclaim the liabilities and may be found the duty of care, which we need to be professional ethics. We need to be an attitude, the critically assessment, questioning mind, that need to be crucial. Overlooking suspicious circumstances, which we need to be make sure all the key evidence you get, to draw your final. So documentation, it is important. Editors note down important conversation with the clients and the various stakeholders. The professional ethics always the editor need to be followed in the ethical to draw the assurance. We can look around these five professional code of ethics: professional competency, due care, integrity, honesty, professional behavior, confidentiality, keep the client information confidential, and objectivity, not bias or conflicting information. Then ethical standard details need to be, if don't follow these ethics, it leads to the threat advocacy, self-interest, intimidation, similarities, and self-review threads. Threads may be member in practice or member in business. So professional appointment, second opinion, fees, remuneration, ten, not the contingent fees. Like if we'll save tax, we'll give good views, you pay more fees. No, we charge according to the surveys and the professional. So the safeguard apply to the different personnel with the providing non-assurance services or audit, monitoring and managing reliance revenue, identification of the interest relationship between is a parent, child, or others, close family relationship that can be conflict of interest. The working papers, safeguard apply, independent review of the audit paper, consultation with independent third party, disclosure, ethical issues and rotation, because if you can't stay that details in more than 5 years because you have to carry on rotating. Ethical standards, authorized disclosures, yes, give the permission, consider the effect of the third party, disclosures by law you have to disclose the money laundering, suspicious transaction, security procedures, which we can look around, don't discuss the client matters with any third party. Don't give information to, as we mentioned, we have a GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. Okay. Assurance is someone means, comfortable, convince, yes, encourage, persuade, and can be used, which we just mentioned earlier. We need to be make sure we can do internal audit planning, and that will increase the assurance we have properly planned. So we have IFA, which is audits done at 3:30, auditor response and assess risk. The auditors design the perform audit procedures whose natures of time, extent are based on and are they responsible to assess the risk of the material misstatement. In a sense, the auditor obtain the audit evidence sufficient, enable them to offer the reasonable the financial statement free from material misstatement, selection and application of the procedure designed to achieve the vital important of effective audit, and auditors required to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence in the form of audit opinion. The modern auditing also required the consideration of the additional factors such as computer edited techniques, use the audit expert and the internal auditors and the estimates. Okay, so if we don't do the, or we have to respond to the risk, respond to the risk assessment, overall responsive, further audit procedure, test of control, substantial procedures, analytical procedure, a test of control, affected the reliability, which need to be think about the system, need to be well designed and understand the responding to the risk, the audit evidence, the test of control. This has already been dealt with the chapter 2, which we can look around in. So guys, it's quite good, if you want to set up an account on the Open Tuition and look around the F8, which is exam of audit and assurance and design to the system and operation of the system. If we can role of controlling, testing, and a detailed assessment of the risk material misstatement include expectation, conclusion, operating the effective and audited should perform the test of control of sufficient evidence which we can look at. When responding to the risk, audit evidence, substantive assertion about the classes of the transaction, the events or related disclosures, the transaction is occurrence, is a complete and by accuracy, cut of days, classification, presentation of those, existent, the right, who is the obligation and the complete net accuracy and the valuation. You can use these some abbreviation, analytical procedures, inquiries, external confirmation about the asset, who's belong to, who own it, yeah, checking, observation, recalculation, and the performance that can be used. Analytical procedures are the relationship between the item of the data and the relevant information. In ethical procedures can be comparison of the year's information with the similar in the previous period, anticipated result, and the budget. It need to be reliable, relevant, and available, and the risk assessment need to be regular assessment of those risks. Okay, so overall, we can see the analytical procedures must be ensure the financial statement is a reasonable financial reviews, significant financial fluctuation, make inquiries, consider the management response in the light of the knowledge. Practical techniques is can be accounting ratios, can be used, payable and all these, we can look around different ratios to draw the opinion about. Sampling, of course, sampling means selecting the small proportion from the transaction. Whole transaction is known as a population, applying audit procedures to greater than 10% or less than 100% of item of population, which is tolerable misstatement. Maximum amount of the misstatement in the population can be drawn, like there can be a fluctuation and the statistical sampling involved in the randomly selection of the item and non-statistical sampling. Two different sampling methods can be used, even can be convenience sampling sometimes. They consider the risk expectation misstatements, acceptable levels of these misstatements, not in the material and the sampling and the lower sampling and the size of the sampling that's need to be, and selection random systematic apposite the these we can choose, guiding the not biased one evaluation of those the detail must analyze and material misstatement, qualitative aspect as well, their opinion and quantitative aspect, the numbers need to be. Nowadays, of course, we computer aided design can be used, to minimize the risk. Audit software can be used and the test of the data, checking whether the system operating properly. We can say generate the transaction, create the vouchers, and do one transaction. We want to look around the procedural. Yes, audit is integrated, test facilities where the permanent testing environment can be placed in the database. And then please to enhance your further understanding, I included the links for you. Further, we can read and enhance our understanding. So today lesson we had a discussion about audit assurance. I need to never give the absolute assurance. We discussed about positive and negative unlimited assurance. That all was in our lesson, and the next lesson we'll go through our LO2. Thanks for attending, and hope speak you all during our next. Thank you. Bye bye.